And good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Season 3 of JMU Sound Off. We are relaxed. We are rested. A few weeks of off-season for the podcasters as well, and really excited to bring you another season of coverage of JMU football and JMU athletics. As always, I am Jonathan McNamara in Richmond, Virginia. We've got a great show for you today. We've got JMU Athletic Director Matt Roan, who is now officially made his move to Harrisonburg. We're also going to welcome to the conversation JMU Assistant Athletic Director for Football Administration, Matt Transue, and then two of our players from JMU football who are living the dorm experience now, Tanner, Morris, and Immanuel Bush. As always, though, we want to thank our sponsors who are back with us for Season 2. We're going to start off with, of course, the Montpelier Collective. Montpelier Collective doing incredible work to support student athletes across the JMU sports landscape. We've had some great content from the collective this summer, really showing some of the personalities of the athletes that are part of the collective, whether it was softball players helping the Red Cross have their most successful blood drive to date in Harrisonburg. We've had football players building Habitat for Humanity, basketball players out in the community, lots of great work. And that is student athletes using the collective to not only tell more about their personal brands, but to make a stronger and more resilient community. And that is because of your support of the collective. So we're grateful to be partnering with the collective once again to learn more about how you can support student athletes through our collective and NIL work. It's MontpelierCollective.com. Stay tuned for some exciting announcements with the collective. You've probably seen the puzzle pieces that have been coming out on social media over the last couple of weeks. Big announcement this week. If you'd like to be one of the first to know what's coming from the collective, make your contribution now to be the first to see what that full reveal is going to be. We also want to thank our friends from Skyline Financial Partners, yourpurplenation.com. There is a new Your Purple Nation store now in Dulles. The Dulles area that will open on Tuesday. Give you your first opportunity to get JMU gear in that area. It is at Dulles Landing Drive. Talk to Carol Benazzi today. It's next to Dick's Sporting Goods, 50 and Loudoun County Parkway. So another location in addition to Richmond, as well as online to get JMU gear. So excited for Carol Benazzi. Where's Woody? Our other sponsor coming on board again for Season 2. Where's Woody's got some exciting new JMU merchandise that's going to be coming out as we go over the next couple of weeks in partnership with both us as well as the Montpelier Collective. So as always, where's Woody.com. And then want to thank our friends from Talent Core. Again, your support of our podcast is allowing us to bring you coverage each and every week. So we wanted to, right off the top, acknowledge their support because it really matters. And with that, I want to bring in our other Shoker Enterprises as a new sponsor coming in for this year. Joe Shoker is a man who needs no introduction for what he has done to support the JMU athletics community, both as a player during his time, but also what his family has done in the years since his time on the field with JMU. So welcome to Shoker Enterprises, a new sponsor, as well as the podcast. So with that, I want to bring in the other co-hosts for our show. As always, Taylor Atkins, Steve Brown, and Michael Evangelista, our producer, Chandler Fortune, as well, here with us tonight. Steve, you've been to Scotland. Taylor, you've got the tan around the eyes. I know you've been out fishing, catching bass all over the place. Michael, I don't think there's a part of the United States you haven't been to over the last couple of weeks. So welcome back. I know you took some time off from some of our summer episodes, but gentlemen, a really exciting time of year as teams are back on campus. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on the football program, but some great building blocks being put in place on all of our athletic teams for the fall season. Kind of, Steve, I'll start with you. You were at practice this past Saturday, got a chance to see the Dukes in action. What's your excitement level as we get ready for the new year?
It's off the chart, people. Don't care about vacation anymore. I'm in football camp mode. So none of that crap matters. It's all about winning 11, 12 games, 12 games, not just 11, and hitting that playoff. So really excited to see them yesterday. It was hot, extremely hot, and they went for over 2 hours. And those guys are in shape. It's the most in shape team I've seen in the years I've been going to practice. I mean, these guys are ripped and in great shape and are ready to roll. So I can't wait to go back. So I'm going to try to get to practice this week one more time to see what's going on. But yeah, off the chart. Can't wait to get it going.
Awesome. Taylor, I'll mention you because in our little promo we put out yesterday, you just deserve an extra little bit of kudos just for being able to squat with both your kids on your shoulders. So somebody's been hitting the gym this summer. Taylor, where's your mindset at as we're through 1 week of JMU football training camp and starting to get ready for the tailgating season that is upon all of us as well, right around the corner as you and I will be right at the entrance to the UREC tunnel. for another season in our new location after we made the transition from Pilat.
It's that time of year where the podcasts are starting to come back, not just ours, but some of the other JMU ones, some of the national ones on college football, that you're starting to tune in and hear that college football chatter. We got together with a group of guys last night, and we're just talking about how August is when the weather starts to change a little bit. There's the text message threads with your buddies at your alma mater starts to fire back up. And it's just that time of year where the excitement builds. Everyone's starting out 0-0. I mean, everyone's on an even playing field right now. And for the next month, we get to enjoy this part of the season. Call it preseason, but it's just as much part of the regular season as anything. So just the excitement and just looking ahead to the schedule. There's just some great road trips this year and really easy road trips. I think I made a comment earlier this year about half of the miles of team will travel is down to that game in Louisiana. But when you got 2 games in North Carolina, 3 games in North Carolina, Old Dominion, just a lot of really easy travelable games this year. So the JMU Nation will be not just in Bridgeforth, but around the Sun Belt this season.
Well, sunscreen, Taylor, because there's going to be some hot games in the sun the next couple of weeks. So
yeah, I got that fair skin.
This is. There you go. Michael, I know you've had a chance to be out of practice as well. Just, you kind of always have the pulse of JMU Nation on social media. I know your excitement level has been rising just based on the cadence and the number of text messages that have been coming through over the last couple of days. Where are you at now that you're back officially in Virginia after your summer of travels?
Yeah, I was going to say, first off, thrilled to be back, and I'm staying. I'm not going to show up in South Dakota or in Key West or whatnot, even though those trips were pretty awesome. I encourage everyone to get out there and visit national parks and do things a little bit differently. But I echo Steve and Taylor's sentiment, right? I had the privilege to go to practice on Friday, tremendous energy. I think the team is in tremendous shape. I don't think I've seen a more physically mature JMU football team in quite a while. And if you look at, number one, we got 64 new players. Majority of them are 5th and 6th year guys. They played a lot of football. So I think that's something we could be really excited about. But just like anyone, and if you watch our promo, I'm trying to figure out who the hell everyone's numbers are, right? All the numbers are totally different for DBs, corners, wide receivers, offensive linemen, because we have a lot of them. Who are these guys and where are they on the field? So really excited. I'm super thrilled. Everyone's texting who's going to be there for Charlotte on August 31st, who's setting up the tailgate for Gardner Webb, where are we staying in Chapel Hill, all that's happening right now. We're really down and dirty back in football season, so I'm really excited.
Awesome. And before we get out our first guest, I just want to say to everybody out there in the JMU universe, there's a lot been thrown at you by JMU Athletics. Remember, the best place for you to make sure that you have the latest information, whether it's about tickets, travel, away game, road parties, JMUsports.com, as well as the great work that is done by the JMU social media team, always putting out updates. Make sure you have the app downloaded. We'll get into all this stuff as we get closer to the season. Make sure you download those tickets early so that you're not, doing that as you walk into the stadium. Lots of great tips to help the season go smoothly, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes doing incredible work to make this exciting season possible. So first of all, just want to say thank you to them. And with that, we will bring on our first guest, and it is the newest athletic director for James Madison University, Matt Roan. Matt, first of all, you're in your new home. You told us in the green room that you've hung up some photos already on the wall. You've been very active in experiencing the food cuisine and the food scene in Harrisonburg. So first of all, just to maybe refresh fans who haven't had a chance to hear from you in a few weeks. So what has your personal life now that you've moved to Harrisonburg Light? It's got to have been a whirlwind, but you have to be happy to officially be in your permanent home now here in Harrisonburg.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, just how quickly the last really almost 4 months have gone by, and making the transition, getting started in the middle of May with spring meetings, Sunbelt spring meetings, having the opportunity to go to Raleigh to be with our baseball program, going around the state with Scooter Rankin and our Duke club and a couple of head coaches on that trip. It makes time go by really, really quickly, but very, very fortunate to finally have my family here. We closed on our house in Rockingham County back on July 1st. So we're a month in now, veterans, and just could not be more excited. Again, the newness has not worn off. The shine has not lost, its luster, I guess you would say. But just to have the opportunity to come back to my native state, to be a part of a program as tradition rich, but obviously as exciting and as much trajectory as we have, and to be a part of JMU Nation, a fan base that's unmatched. It's the pleasure of a lifetime.
So Matt, I was going to ask you, I know you've had a chance now to not only meet with all of the coaches and other administrative staff at JMU. Now that there are teams on campus, not just football, but all of our fall sports working out, maybe walk us through what your days now. I know there's obviously got to be a lot of logistics planning for the season and everything, but what is your outside of focusing on everything? Maybe just give fans a little bit behind the scenes of what kind of over the next few weeks, a day in the life of an athletic director is like, as you now try to put your stamp on these programs as we launch towards the first competitions, which will begin really right before we know it, not just the football games, but the soccers and other who will fire up over the weeks to come.
Jonathan, I will say at the outset, right, the greatest thing about my job is I get to do a little bit of everything, right? And every day is truly different. So let me say that at the beginning. But I was telling somebody the other day that when I got my first AD opportunity, I took over in November of 2016 at Nichols, and that was that overlap between fall and winter. And then when I got to EKU, that was in February of 2020. That was that overlap between winter and spring. And so to have the opportunity to come in May, it was a tremendous opportunity for me in the fact that I really could be intentional about walking campus, getting out and having the opportunity to meet with people off of campus, sitting down and not just feeling rushed, right? Getting down to meet with our administrative team, people without, down inside of the organization, every single head coach. And so for that framed a lot of who I thought we were, right? I asked the question, and Matt Transue, who I know will be with you later, he can tell you that I asked questions and I wanted to find out JMU is successful because of, and those are the things that we don't want to disrupt. And then I wanted to find out JMU is successful in spite of, right? And those are the things that we can tweak. Those are the things that we can try to build upon and improve upon. So it's been a great time to come in. The summer months, I would highly recommend if anybody's going to take an AD job, that's the time to come in. But the unfortunate part of it has been by the time that I got here in May, commencement had already occurred, again, with the exception of very few programs. Our student athletes were not here. And so it's been refreshing for me. And just like Steve talked about being able to get on campus, Michael said, hey, getting to see these new people. I'm finally having the opportunity to meet our student athletes, right? To get to speak to our soccer programs, get to speak to field hockey, volleyball, football as our fall sports arrive back and start to really get rolling with their seasons. And so for me, that's what a lot of it has been is talking, is starting to not necessarily tweak or change our value system, because again, I believe our values are our culture, and that's the thing that we don't want to change. But what are we going to pursue, right? What are we going to be about every single day? And again, meeting the great people that are so passionate about this program. That's what my time's been spent doing.
Awesome.
Well, Matt, like we were talking pre-show, it's great to finally meet you virtually. Look forward to meeting you in person someday soon. And as someone who really values context, I really appreciate your approach of these last few months here and just really engaging with the community and kind of understanding, how to guide JMU into that next step of its program overall. But speaking of that, when College Game Day came here, one of the things they kind of introduced was, they really highlighted the Shenandoah Valley. And I think last week on social media, there was some talk because of an advertisement on, I think it was a Pepsi truck, about being the Valley's team. I personally, even before I went to JMU, we grew up in Virginia Beach, but we would vacation in the Shenandoah Valley, the history, the culture, it's a nationally known geographic area, and we're the only Division I FBS school in that district. So would love to hear kind of your thoughts on the idea of kind of being the Valley's team and not just connecting JMU to the alumni and the students, but also the region that JMU represents.
Yeah, let me begin by saying, we never want to forget where we came from, right? So, for us to be the Valley's team, and I'll get to that here in just a second, but we have to make sure that our students, our faculty, our staff, our administration, again, that our campus has embraced us. We want to make sure the city of Harrisonburg and Rockingham County have embraced us. And I think if you check boxes, you can absolutely check those boxes, right? And again, that's the reason that you can put 25,000 people plus in Bridgeport Stadium. It's the reason that people, again, are so passionate. It's the reason that when my family and I have had the opportunity to go to a restaurant or just spend time together in the community, it never fails. Somebody comes up and tells us how excited they are, not just for us to be here, but how excited they are to hear the success or to see the success. I heard that dog bark and I said here, but to see the success of JMU athletics and to be a part of that and to be so close to that. But as I went through the process here, and trying to find out even more than I thought I already knew about JMU, you see from really Lexington to Winchester, up and down 81 in the Valley, how many people there are and how we have a strategic advantage even over our friends in Blacksburg and Charlottesville with, again, the volume of people in that 50-mile radius around our campus here. And so for us, because campus has supported us so much, because the city and the county have supported us so much, we just feel like now is the time to really kind of embrace this notion of let's be the Valley's team. And as we're the Valley's team, then we'll become the Commonwealth of Virginia's team. We'll grow, from in to out, never losing sight of necessarily, what we've, checked off, but also, being focused on, what is going to allow us to have success moving forward. And I have no credit or deserve no credit for that moniker. That was all Melissa Wyant, our team inside the athletics department. We have people that are very, very talented. And so that's something that they came up with and kind of teased out there. But I think our fans are going to be excited to see a lot more of it as we move forward.
Well, I know how much that has meant to me as a student there, as someone who lived in the Shenandoah Valley, and then being someone down here in the Roanoke area, seeing the role Southwest Virginia Tech has played, and why there are so many, what they call T-shirt fans, people that didn't go to Tech, but just the way they've embraced. So have really always appreciated that mindset and love the idea of being known as the Valley's team. So I'll kick it over to Michael.
I appreciate it.
Matt, thanks for coming on with us. It was good to hang out with you on Friday. It was a hot day at JMU's football practice, but it was good to kind of catch up a little bit. My question is to go through with, you've been here now since April. Typically as I've transitioned in my professional life, you typically have to look at like a 30, 60, 90-day plan, right? It's like an opportunity for you to learn, listen, digest the new environment, et cetera. What have you identified as maybe your number one opportunity or area of opportunity, area of improvement at JMU, and something you could put a stamp on?
Michael, I'll kind of answer that I think in two parts, and it's a great question. I will say, for us, one of the things that makes, JMU, I think gives us a competitive advantage over our peers is our infrastructure. And so looking at our facilities, right, not only what we have right now, but how can we master plan what we need to address moving forward. And so starting to have those conversations on campus with the president's office, with my colleagues in the division heads room, certainly our vice president and CFO, Tawana Moore, really to start to collaborate on the campus master plan, but then carving out that piece of the athletics master plan to say, hey, this is something that is important here. Our facilities, I still believe that there is a place for improving facilities inside of college athletics. And so, what are those next steps that we take? How do we design, the types of seats, the number of seats, if you're talking about, the insides of the seating bowl, but also the spaces that every single day for us, I think in this new era, we have to be focused not just on, again, 6 Saturdays, but it's got to be, we'll recruit the best talent that we can, and we'll develop better than anywhere else in the country the opportunity, to our student athletes that we recruit here. And so I think facilities is a piece of that. I think resources are another, right? And so equipping our programs with what they need to be successful, looking at things, whether it be 2 years ago with the transformation committee, looking at the Cox bill, those are things that are front of my mind, and how we can make sure that we're growing, but growing the right way. But I think the second part of the answer, Mike, that I certainly want to elaborate on a little bit more is, just 2 weeks ago, it's, an announcement about the proposed House settlement and, new roster limits and new scholarship limits and even the opportunity to revenue share. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we're going to go up to the max, but I'm also not going to sit here and say that we're going to do nothing, right? For us, we have to examine what works for us, what's going to allow us to be successful in this new era of college athletics. And that's going to cause us to prioritize. That's going to cause us certainly to make, strategic decisions. But I want to make sure that the next, 25 years, 30 years of JMU athletics are the era that we say, hey, how about that? As opposed to looking back behind us.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that transparency, right? Because I think like we're all looking at like what's your vision and next step for JMU. We were talking earlier about how we're really looking forward to August 31st versus Charlotte, but we all know first game one at Bridgeport, the September 7th versus Gardner Webb. Last year, I felt like JMU football's done a great job taking feedback. We got a stadium DJ. We had a new entrance for the football team. What can fans expect on September 7th that may be a little bit different from like a game day production? What can we be excited about?
Well, I'm excited about it all, right? Because it'll be the first time that I've been able to see it and get to enjoy it. But there's going to be a couple new seating options at the field level inside of Bridgeport Stadium this fall. I know some people have heard about that, but really kind of looking at the demand. But as we talk about planning for the future, right, we want to prove that demand is there and that, there are new options for our fans to engage in and that they're voting with their feet, right, and they're choosing to participate with us in those spaces. So looking at two different cabana type seat spaces in I think Steve calls it the gap between the north and the east sides of the stadium, and also a group area that's a little bit closer to the Plecker Center. And then really just kind of taking what worked so well last year, Michael. And again, I've heard that from so many people, right, that the last really year, 2 years, whether it be, the end game, just the entertainment piece, but even, what's underneath the stadium, right, in the bows, concessions and lines and, entry and ingress and egress and all those sorts of things, continue just to refine those. Listening, again, when people tell me, hey, I just want a water, and there's long lines for that, right? So I bring that message back and we say, hey, how do we reduce the amount of time that people are spending waiting in line for a water? And so we're trying to address all those things constantly. But I think you'll see some new tweaks and hopefully the establishment of even some new traditions to build on what's been put into place the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, part of what you're talking about is and your CFO came from Louisville. We thought Louisville did a great job getting students in. When we were at the game, they had half-price beer with multiple locations to get it, tons of grab-and-go stations for water, all cashless, and they got a boatload of people in that game 45 minutes before the kickoff with cheap beer and cheap food. I don't know how many of them stayed, but the half price beer till kickoff was great. So, there's fun stuff, and I'm just glad that you guys are always listening. I've been chirping about putting temporary stands in, and you came up with a much better idea of putting in field suites, which drive better revenue. Field suites look great. Coastal did a nice job when we were down there in November. They had field suites right in front of. It was a bad location. They were right in front of our away bench or our away stands, so they probably weren't all that happy that they were in front of us. But I thought they did a nice job. It was right in the corner of their end zone. And then there's the other one that you talked about that'll be down on the Plecker Center side, which is I think $100 a seat for 20 folks kind of in that location, which, is a great place to be able to watch a game. If people haven't been down on the field, it's a completely different experience when you're down there, and it's just a great place to be. So I applaud you guys for putting that together so fast. I mean, you've been here in April, you've already got renderings and you've already rolled that thing out, within 2 months. So it's exciting to see, and it's going to be great for television because and for the people, you'll see that whole thing just kind of fills in. So I think it's going to look great.
I appreciate that, Steve. And I'll say again, just like I did when talking about Melissa, Jeff Poglace, Brad Burgess, Scooter Rank, and Ty Phillips. Again, I get to work with very talented people every single day that are pushing themselves, that are coming up with new ideas. And so I like to take credit for that. But those are people behind the scenes that are really putting their best foot forward to make sure that Bridgeport is what it needs to be on game day. And as we look again into the future, it's those not just the number of seats, right, that you always think about. It's the types of seating in every venue, not just Bridgeport. Again, we want to make sure that we have the right types of seating, different options to try to drive people there and drive that revenue that we can reinvest back into our programs.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been great. The athletics department's been great about listening, to feedback. That's honestly how we started this whole thing a couple of years ago. Is we were, just sitting around on a Twitter space chatting about how we could make our game day experience better. And you guys were, the athletics department was very nimble on doing that. Up into Brad moving the away team up into the corner of Bridgeforth. That was born down at Georgia Southern at a Duke Club event at the Marriott, where we were just sitting around the table having a beer. And I just said to Brad, I said, why do people get to sit on the 20 or 30 yard line down in the lower bowl? And he goes, I don't know. I said, can't we stick them way up in the corner? He goes, yeah, I think it's a great idea. That's where they sit. So it's fun. So tell me what is anything surprised you in the time that you've been at JMU? Anything, that you think, wow, I thought I knew it all, but wow, this is better than I thought, or I won't say worse. We'll just go with the positive. What's surprised you in a good way?
Again, I think anybody who's around me long enough will, I hope, appreciate the optimism, right? I'm a glass half full type person. And so, I think the things that have surprised me again is it's even better than I thought, right? You come in, and just the quality of people, the quality of resources. I think one thing, to be very fair, that you kind of go into this process, and by the time I was firmly in the interview process, President Alger had announced that he was going to be leaving. And so you think to yourself, man, who am I going to be working for? And so very, very quickly, Mr. King and I have developed, I think, a very positive relationship, and to have such an ally, such an advocate, and a believer in the value of athletics. You talk about success can be had when everybody is pulling the rope in the same direction, and there's no doubt in my mind that the two of us, him and I, are not, we're pulling the rope in the same direction. He's somebody that believes in the value of athletics and has been a tremendous asset for me, even in this first month working together.
Well, we appreciate you more than you know. You'll hear it a lot. And when you see us at away games, we're a little different than we are on the podcast. So when you see Jonathan and me and Taylor and Chandler and Michael, I'm a little crazy at these games. So hopefully I'll try not to embarrass you, but I don't do anything really bad, but I'm a little crazy.
He has a card in the inside of his jacket that just says "Return to Alice." So we sew that in. Make sure.
That's
I got bail money too, just in case.
It's good for it. Matt, no more questions, but I just wanted to say right off the bat, thank you. You're one thing that has been a hallmark of your short tenure at JMU is you're clearly a believer in access and having new voices tell the JMU story, and that's really been reflected in kind of the tone of how the coaches that we've interacted with over the last couple of months have really kind of opened their doors to not just this program, but so many others. And I think it's just giving more of an opportunity to, as I call it, build connective tissue with JMU that will lead to more contributions and everything. And so maybe the last, I work for nonprofits, so I know in my world, the best way to end any conversation is the ultimate softball toss. How can people help this program give you the resources? What are the ways? Obviously, there's a Duke Club in the collective, but your sales pitch in the last couple of 30 seconds, maybe to somebody out there who might maybe have never made a contribution to JMU or somebody who's made a contribution but thinking about maybe increasing it. What type of additional resources do you need, and how does that help you make these programs continue to be successful?
Jonathan, I thought you were going to tee it up for me just a moment ago, and the thing that popped into my mind was what you had just said is let people know how they can help, or what are ways that people can help, and my simple answer to that is any way that they can. If you came to a game in years past, buy a season ticket. If you've been a part of the Duke Club, consider going up to that next level. If you've been a leader for us inside of that Duke Club, consider, if you haven't already, being a part of the Montpelier Collective. And if you've been a part of the Duke Club at that leadership level, we're going to be leaning upon you for some capital gifts in the not too distant future as we try to build this thing to a level to make you even more proud than you already are. And so I am a firm believer that I won't have any success by myself. Our team won't have any success just doing it on our own. It is going to take people that work inside Godwin Hall and other places on campus, but it is also going to take people that work in Harrisonburg and Richmond and Northern Virginia, just doing what you can. And certainly that does include, and you led off with this when you were thinking of the sponsors, but the Montpelier Collective. I mean, for us, this is a new era. And again, we can stick our heads in the sand and say, hey, I don't like it, and pretend like it's not existing, and we won't enjoy the type of success that we've grown accustomed to. But we can lean into it, and we can understand that at JMU, we do NIL in a uniquely JMU way, and I think that is NIL done right. And I think that's something that people can be proud of and should want to be associated with.
Awesome. Well, as a Montpelier Collective board member, I can tell you from behind the scenes, there are a lot of people working really hard to make sure that this is the best ambassadorship for what NIL can be. And also to make sure we're producing something that people can be proud of, but also giving opportunities, again, as I mentioned in the intro, for the student athletes to really make a difference in the community. And I could say, as somebody who works for the Red Cross on a daily basis, again, Bella Hensler from JMU Softball really leaning in and helping us have an incredibly successful blood drive during a time of year when it's very hard to collect blood, not only in Harrisonburg, but across the country. That's just one example of many that are happening on campus, thanks to student athletes who are really embracing community service. And that's just one way that they're giving back to the community. So as always, Matt, thanks again. We'll let you get back to your Sunday night, and we'll talk to you as we go throughout the rest of the summer. And then as we go throughout the season, we know you got a lot of work. Maybe next time we talk to you, you'll have 5 pictures hung up on the wall instead of 4. So
yeah, maybe it's going to be a busy month, but
awesome.
I appreciate the invitation, and I can't wait to see you on that Friday before August 31st.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you soon, guys.
And with that, we have one of the other really busy people on campus who is helping to plan almost every aspect of how JMU football not only gets ready for the upcoming season, but once the luggage starts to get put in the buses and on the planes, Matt makes sure that everything is working smoothly. Matt, thanks for coming on. We know this is an incredibly busy time for you. I just wanted to kind of start off from your perspective. Is planning is such an important part of what you do every day to make sure that every piece is in place for the program to be successful. Now that camp has started, does your focus change at all, or are you already looking now out into what comes, less than 30 days from now as we're on the field in Charlotte? Just kind of take us through what a day in the life now is like for you now that we head towards week 2 of training camp.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate you guys having me on. Great question. The beautiful part of it is we've got a great team here. That's JMU support staff between Jordan Smith, our director of football operations, to Tyler Webb, our athletic trainer, Rob Marchand, our equipment manager, and so on and so forth, who really do a good job of helping move the football program along. So yes, as camp starts, we get going. We're going to start looking, 30 days, 14 days, 7 days ahead to make sure that we've got everything lined up in a row to be successful, not only on the field, but off the field, behind the scenes. So, we're already planning for our trips, have been doing that since early May, and actually early March when the schedule gets dropped, but finalizing contracts. And now we get into the weeds of things. Once we get game times, we can really kind of establish our planning and our execution on what those Fridays into Saturdays look like in the fall.
Awesome.
Matt, thank you again for joining us. I know probably the guys on this podcast, and probably even some people listening, probably know some of this, but I would really love you to kind of do a little bit of a dive into a day in the life of a player during this preseason camp. I think Coach Chesney was talking to Dave Riggett earlier this week and was kind of talking about, even on their off day, how they have the freedom to do a lot, but there's still some rules that go along with preseason camp. And so for the average fan that may not know outside of the practice part, what is a day in the life of like this first week of some of the players as they've arrived on campus?
Yeah. Yep. So it's pretty busy. It's sun up, sundown for the guys. We start with breakfast at 6:45 a.m. at D Hall. They go to an 8:10 team special teams position meetings, and then they're on the field at practice by 9:30. Usually it's about a 2-hour practice, so you're going to get to about 11:30 or so when you're finished up. You're going to hit lunch back at D Hall, and then about 2:15, 3:15-ish, somewhere in there, you're going to actually have position meetings and watch the film from the practice you just had with your coaches. You'll do that for an hour and a half. You might have to a walkthrough at that point in time, but then you'll go to dinner, come back for more meetings. We'll have a team meeting around 6. And that will go into teams, special teams, and more position meetings to continue to cover what just occurred earlier in the day, but also start to do some install planning for the next day and the next morning. And then from there, there's snack about 8:30, and then we do bed checks at 10, and then at 10:30 it's lights out, and then we start all over again. Off days, we basically are going in 4-day segments, sometimes 3-day segments throughout the week. So an off day is a little bit more lax for them. They're going to get to wake up a little bit later, eat breakfast, do a lot of treatment, and take care of their bodies off the field so they're prepared for the next couple of days ahead. They'll still do position meetings with their coaches and do a whole bunch of different treatment stuff. So the off days are just meeting based, really, and treatment based, but it's a full grind. Every day is long, and so our guys actually just were leaving the building, grabbing snack here about right as we started about 8. So it's a long, grueling day for them.
And just to clarify, all the guys that maybe live off campus during the season, during preseason, everyone is on campus, correct?
Yep. So we do a kind of a traditional old school camp style where everybody that's on the team, so 119 guys, are living in Hillside Hall, basically from report day until the 11th. So they get about almost 14 days in the residence hall together. And it's cool because it allows them to kind of have some camaraderie, build a lot of culture, and go through these hard days together. And then also kind of stay in the playbook, stay in the building, and just kind of embrace, no distraction mindset of, hey, football's the only focus we got. Nobody's in class right now. And, we can be kind of full-time football players. And if the NFL can do it, so can a college football team. And hopefully it continues to, build and bring us together over the next course of the next week or so.
Well, and I have one follow-up too, because you made me think in this day and age of NIL, or not NIL so much, but the transfer portal, and you have so many first-year guys, I would imagine that team bonding that has always traditionally been a very important part of preseason, in this case, you have so many new faces to the program. It really is an opportunity for these guys to really get to become family over that time period, I would imagine. Correct.
Yeah, it's been a point of emphasis since Coach Chesney got here, when we were losing players, whether it's transfer portal, graduation, and so on and so forth. That maintaining the culture of JMU has been a big point of emphasis from Coach, and so it's doing some things to really kind of pull them together that are off the field, right? So it's going to be, doing community service and going out to the local high schools. It's going to be doing a pool day. It's going to be bringing groups to campus here and doing maybe a show and tell day, kind of showing what a day in the life of a football player is. We've got some fun things planned in the works for camp too that we don't want to share and tip off the guys, but there's going to be things throughout the way where we're trying to kind of continue to cultivate culture, and it's been really, really cool to see that come together in a really, really quick amount of time.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, Matt, I want to kind of follow up on Taylor's question, right? Like you mentioned, there's 119 players on campus. That means we've turned over more than half the roster, right, with 65 players through the portal and whatnot. I did notice, like everyone going through the roster and trying to get familiar, we brought on a ton of like 4th, 5th, 6th-year players that have played a lot of football elsewhere. So talk to us a little bit about like, what does that strategy look like now? And maybe how does that differentiate from previous years when you're bringing on older players that have been there and done that, and been productive at other programs?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it comes really about fit, right? We're looking for guys that are good character guys on and off the field, first and foremost. And then once those kind of boxes are checked, then you're looking for production. Everybody is battling for the same kind of guys when they enter the portal, but you're looking for guys that can really fit your scheme, fit what your culture and your identity is going to be as a football team. And everybody has a role. So, you might come in and you might think you're going to be a starter, but you might just being a special teams player, but that role is important, right? And so everybody has a role. So your best is good enough here. And that's what we're excited about, because I think we've brought in a lot of veterans. We've got some young guys that are, the first 4 days of camp are everybody's wheels are kind of spinning. They're kind of figuring out the playbook, and you're starting to see some production on the field during practice, which is really, really exciting. And then they'll have a really big week up ahead with practices, and then our first scrimmage next Saturday. So we're right where we need to be at this point of the year, and so it's a really good place to be at the moment.
That's awesome. I think the old adage goes, right, like iron sharpens iron, and there's a lot of competition right on the field. I imagine if I'm a fifth-year guy, I'm going to want to get in the playbook. I'm trying to get ahead as quickly as I can. How do I get in the field faster? Coach Chesney, on some of the interviews with Dave Rigger this past week, talked a lot about the use of sports science in the program today, especially in practice and even during the spring and summer workouts. We've invested a lot in football. How have you incorporated, like, how does that like look from a day-to-day during practice using like the catapult system or maybe even like hydration systems and whatnot? Like what can you share with JMU Nation?
Sure. Yeah. One of the biggest things we've done is invest in kind of the ancillary services and technologies that touch our student athletes. Right. And so like you mentioned, there's hydration testing, which is more of a behavioral conditioning device that actually sits in the urinals in their locker room. And so they get instant feedback when they pee on this device in the urinal. It tells you red, yellow, or green. And if you're green, you're hydrated. If you're yellow, you're not. If you're red, you're in bad shape. So you better start drinking water. So those are small tweaks that we've added. We've also added Catapult, which is the cutting edge technology for performance tracking that's used within the NFL and college football. And so everybody wears a GPS device on the field or in the weight room, and it tracks about a bajillion metrics that are basically our strength and conditioning staff goes through and combs through each and every day to kind of figure out what our player loads are, right? If you're a wide receiver, how fast are you running? How many yards are you running? How many miles are you possibly running in a practice? And then that way the coaches can use that instant feedback to kind of tweak it for the next day, sometimes even the next walkthrough. And, hey, we may not do a walkthrough because everybody's players load were very, very high on a certain practice. So those are some really cool features that we can use. And then it's instant feedback for the guys that Coach Chesney uses in his team meetings every night. He can show who's the fastest inside the box guy, outside the box guy, who's got the quickest acceleration, and really adds a little layer of competition to things, and also kind of excitement, because guys get really, really excited when Tanner Morris or Immanuel Bush, throw up some top 5 numbers in those categories, which they both have. And because it breeds just excitement and kind of a camaraderie amongst each other. And then you got, hey, look, if Immanuel Bush is doing it, maybe I can do it, right? And so that's some pretty cool stuff.
So just a key off of that, at the same time, there's nowhere to hide. So back in the good old days when you could kind of loaf around in practice and kind of hide, you really can't, because everybody sees your numbers. Somebody's evaluating your numbers all the time.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's all competition. And so they're going to know how much did you really run from play to play? And, and all the different workouts you guys are doing, are you really moving like you're supposed to be moving? And you guys can track every bit of it. So, and I think that's helpful. When I saw, this is not a secret, but when I was there on, yesterday, those guys don't walk to anything. It is full out moving. And they're always it's always in motion, which is unusual. I guess it's an unusual practice, because a lot of times in prior practices you could find a way to kind of shuffle your way back or loaf your way back, but there's no loafing in this team. I mean, so I just wanted to put that out there about how much you guys have these guys moving, and it's really clear that that's the best shaped team I've seen. And God, I've been coming to practice since I don't even want to tell you how long it's been, like 88. So, and I think you probably know that. I mean, they're in much better shape than they were last year, right?
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Coach Novak, our head strength and conditioning coach, and his team have done a phenomenal job from winter, spring, and into summer, getting the guys in shape. And then the way Coach Chesney designs his practices is very, very unique. Like you mentioned, there is no loafing around. There is no kind of short jog to a next drill. It's constant movement all the time. And he expects high intensity and energy, and it's kind of contagious, right? And so guys are feeding into it, and they love it. We kick it off with a compete period every single day, and that kind of sets the tone for the day. So, and there's going to be different one-on-one matchups throughout the day and different things. O-line, D-line, might be a punt competition, or there's all types of different things that they've kind of got designed for each practice, and it's really cool to see the energy and the effort that's out there every single day right now.
And they seem to really like it. I mean, I guess I haven't seen a happier. I mean, I just remember back in the day when it was a grind, and they don't act like it's a grind. They act like it's a privilege to be on the field the entire time they're on the field. And they, it's hard and they're busting their rear ends, but I don't see anybody hanging their head. I don't see anybody with their hands on their hips. These guys just seem to be so engaged and excited just to be playing. So whatever you guys are doing, whatever you're drinking out there, it's some good stuff. So let me ask you about your biggest challenge that you're having, I guess, you're also the chief of staff basically for the whole football program. So you've also got to run the rest of the operation on top of the camp part. What's the biggest challenge you're going through for August camp?
Yeah, August is pretty good right now. Like we're once we get rolling, it kind of is like this. It's the snowball effect, right? It's rolling downhill, and we're doing really good. There's going to be some wrinkles here and there, right? But we're doing some unique things this year where we haven't done in the past. Where we're embracing the grass fields again. So we're going to take the team out to the grass a little bit more. We're going to do some more fun things throughout camp. And it's really looking ahead, right? And getting what's the optimal game travel situation going to be like, right? For Coach Chesney's and his staff, and also the players, right? So getting us, down to Charlotte and back. And while we don't have a grueling travel schedule this year, we still take a lot of pride in executing that at a very, very high level. And because I do believe it does play in success of winning football games. So we'll take a look at that here in the next week or so, really start diving into that, and how do those early games play into, and what we can do to kind of enhance our travel arrangements. So that's been pretty cool.
Anything on the scheduling front? I know you were on Channel 3 and you got your comments all blown up on bringing everybody and their brother to Bridgeport Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hit you with that again, but I figured I'd just ask you I know you're working on scheduling. I know it's difficult.
No breaking news tonight on scheduling matchups between, top Power 4 competition. I do love that our fan base is all about that. But we are working on it every single day. Matt, Roan, and I are in constant communication about football scheduling, and traded texts actually earlier today about it. So we're always working the phones, working different angles, and we'll have some pretty good news here in the near future. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, we'd be happy. I mean, he played at Tech, and the AD down at Virginia Tech's a JMU guy. So anytime they want to truck up 81, or anytime those guys from Charlottesville want to make their way across the mountain, I'd be more than happy to host them at the tailgate and give them some nice food and drink, and then kick their rear ends for 60 minutes in Bridgeport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Matt, we've got one more question. This is actually from our producer, Chandler. He doesn't want to come on camera because he shaved off his beard. He's just not liking how it's going. But his question was, talk about how you work with your counterparts who have your job with the other programs within the Sun Belt, and how that familiarity kind of helps benefit all the programs as you go throughout the year, and the different challenges that each of you in your unique roles might face.
Yeah, that's a great question. We all work really well together. There's a good contingency of director of ops or AD type roles within the Sun Belt, and we all are really good friends. And so we bounce ideas right off of one another, or we kind of share, hey, what hotels are you guys staying? What are the challenges? Do you guys have this kind of challenge? So we're always working together to kind of spitball ideas and figure out things that may or may not work, and it's just a nice relief to kind of hear a different perspective and realize that, hey, the guys are going through the same different challenges, they're just wearing a different logo, right? And so that's been really, really cool. And I'll tell you real quick, the last couple of things that we've been really working on for this fall are a couple of the new rules that are implemented, whether it's coach to player or IVG, which is in-game video. And so implementing those things that are really going to change the game a positive manner, but also in a manner which nobody knows exactly how it's going to unfold until you kick it off on August 31st.
Awesome. Well, Matt, as always, we know that you represent a number of people behind the scenes who do incredible work, who don't always get the attention that they deserve. So as always, we say thank you every time you come on, because we know that there's a lot that has to happen, a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights when the lights in the stadium are off, but the work is still being done. So just know it's appreciated. And we know that you've got a number of very, very busy days ahead, not only as you go through camp, but then the real work for you begins as we head towards the season. So again, all the best to your family that is at home. We know they share you on these Sunday nights as well, and we appreciate it. And we look forward to many future conversations, and look forward to seeing you over the coming weeks as we make trips up to Harrisonburg.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
And with that, we are going to bring on two of the players who are in the midst of their fall camp and or the grueling schedule that it is from a player perspective. I believe they had a day off today. So with that, we're going to go to Tanner Morris and Immanuel Bush, who are both on campus at JMU. First of all, Tanner, I believe I heard you in the intro. You're in the dorm that you were in your freshman year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So a little blast from the past, but Tanner, I want to, this question's for both you and Immanuel, and I'll have you take it first, Tanner, while Immanuel gets situated. What's it like now with so many new faces coming into Harrisonburg, the 60 plus new players on campus? What's it like for both of you to kind of be leadership roles now on this team and kind of set the standard to make sure that these new faces who come to Harrisonburg understand what not only the expectation is, but trying to set that tone in terms of building towards week 1 in Charlotte?
Yeah. One of the big things that Coach Chesney talks about in his team meetings is that 96% of our production from last year is gone. And we hear it almost like every day. And just trying to keep the guys going and looking forward through fall camp and kind of, Bush and I are both big energy guys on the field. We like to hype up the team. We talk smack, try to lead practice in the right way. And I think, the new guys that have come in and transferred in, they see how we act on the field. They see the energy that we bring, and they try to, follow after that and follow that leadership. As well as the young guys who just got here, this is their first fall camp. I'm sure they're all super nervous. They don't really know what to expect, but we both try to lead our position groups and the team every single day in the right way.
And the same question to you, Immanuel. How have you approached, now that you're in your second year coming here from Harrisonburg after transferring in, that you have that unique perspective as somebody who has gone through that coming into Harrisonburg, have you leveraged that experience in helping the new guys who are now making their first camp here in Bridgeforth and gearing up as they try to become integral players in the success of this program in their new season?
Like Tanner said, I really just I try to be really vocal during practice, and when I see a guy just kind of down because they're in a new environment, they don't know how to act, I'm just like, keep your head up. Like, we're just having fun out here. Like, I try to be like a really energetic guy all the time, because if you see somebody with great energy, you're going to be happy and like you're going to want to practice. You're going to want to be there. And that's one of the main things that Coach Chesney talks about, just like not being energy vampires, and you just want to be like the people. It's like the most bonded team plays the best because you're playing with your friends, having fun playing the game that you love and grew up playing.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us. This is kind of my favorite part of the show when we have players on from JMU teams, because it's just a perspective that the fans don't get a lot. So, Manuel, I'm going to start with you first. You've been started your career at Marshall, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then came over here and, have gone through a coaching change now. So in some ways you're a veteran to some of the new guys, but you're also kind of a new guy to some of the veterans. And one thing that I think has kind of been unique about JMU, at least as my time during a fan, is some of the biggest stars and names that have come out of the JMU program have come off of that defensive line. And there's just this tradition. And I think the JMU fan base is maybe more in tune with the defensive line than maybe some other programs, just because we're so used to such great production and kind of those big names. So just talk about your time at JMU and kind of and also would love to hear kind of your first impression of this new coaching staff and kind of what your message to JMU fans should be about what to expect from this defense this year.
Well, to start off, just talking about this D-line, I mean, honestly, when I first came here, it was just like, oh my gosh, that JMU D-line's amazing. Like, even when I was at Marshall, I was like, okay, I got to live up to something. But being here and like actually being a part of the D-line, I see why. Like, we have the offensive line to thank mostly for that. Like, going against Tanner, Potts, Sweezy, they make me better every day because I got to learn, like, this isn't just average ball out here. Like, these are good players, smart players. They know what I'm gonna do. They know me better than I know myself. So I gotta like figure out how to beat them every day. My first impression of JMU, honestly, when I came here playing at Marshall, what was that now? 2 years ago? Just time flies. I came off the bus and I looked around. I'm like, this is JMU? This campus looks so much better than where I'm at. I was like, there's no way. I'm like, wow, like, what's it like to be here? Then we started warming up. I'm like, this is a nice stadium. I was just in awe because I was like, I never knew about JMU because I'm from South Carolina and I didn't really pay attention to college football growing up because I was more of an NFL guy. So like just being here and like seeing them, like, this is like one of the best experiences I ever had. And then when we finally played, I just remember what happened. It was I forgot the running back y'all had, number 31. I forgot his name, but he got a touchdown. And I remember getting on the sideline and people were just throwing streamers, hitting me in the back of the head. I was just like, wow, that's funny. Percy, that was his name. But I was just like, wow, I got hit in the back of the head. I picked up a streamer and like people were just cheering and happy to be here. Just like the energy was so amazing. It made me want to be a part of this. So after I left Marshall that year, like JMU was like one of the top options for me. And I was like, I can't pass that up. And
well, I want to say how happy you've made me because I'm going to clip what you just said. The guy that first hired me at JMU and is someone who I talk to still on a daily basis through a text message is a huge Marshall grad and talks Marshall all the time. So you might have the quote of the night for me to share with him. And we loved our time. We went out and visited Marshall. Great people, but it means a lot because I respect the heck out of that Marshall program, and I respect about. And to have someone from Marshall come here and say things like that about JMU, I think sometimes the JMU fan base lives in this bubble and they don't know what the perception is from the outside looking in. So that means a lot, kind of your words there. And Tanner, I'll kind of come to you now too. I mentioned the pedigree and the tradition of the D-line. I mean, one of the biggest talking points from the 2004 national championship team that is still, in my mind, just the team that really set a lot of things in motion was just that offensive line was so dominant. And again, it made the JMU Nation pay attention to the offensive line, to maybe where some other football programs, that's just not where their focus goes. And so I think for the last 2 decades, who's on the offensive line, who's coming back from the offensive line has always been a big talking point during preseason. And you're someone who is a 6th-year player. And these days there are a lot of 6-year players, but not a lot of guys that are 6 years at the same school. And I would say, I would argue, I don't know if there's another program in the country that has gone through such a rapid 6-year transition from when you set foot on campus, went through COVID, went through an FBS transition, 2 years in the top 25, and then come in with a new coach in year 3 when you're first. I would just love your context, your perception of just what was that like living through that, and how has that been for you as a player?
I mean, obviously it's been pretty rocky for some parts. COVID was not a very fun experience for me from the school aspect. I love football, and, we got to play 2 seasons in 1 year. So that was pretty crazy. It's my 6th year in college, but this is my 7th camp because we had a spring season. And, I remember when I visited here, winning football was such a huge factor in my decision process about where I was going to choose to spend the next 4 years, now 6 years in college. And JMU was probably the most winning program that decided to take a chance on me. And I felt like that was just it was just going to be a great place to play. And I've never regretted that decision ever. Going through COVID, like I said, it wasn't a great time, but learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about football. Being able to have a fall ball before a spring season and then into another fall camp lets you just improve your game so much. And harping on the offensive line comment you made, like there's been so many people here before me that have been great leaders to me. You know, Mac Patrick was the starting center when I got here, then JT Timming. And so they both, you know, through their time here have just helped me grow so much as a player. And now going through this coaching change, it's just helped me to now evolve as more of a leader, more so than just a player.
And I'd love to also hear your perspective on, did you notice a significant jump in competition when going from the FCS defensive lines that you played when you first started here to what you experienced in the Sun Belt, or was it a little more gradual? I mean, what was your perception of that?
I feel like the Sun Belt is definitely a lot more competitive defensively than what we played in FCS ball, specifically just the depth that you can face. You know, these guys can rotate in and out pretty much whenever they want. They're going to have very capable players, probably two, maybe three deep. And I really think that the, you know, the speed of play is definitely faster. And so, yeah, I'd say that's probably the most key factors.
Awesome. Well, I'll kick it over to Michael.
Hey guys, well, thanks again for joining us. Leading up to this episode, when I saw who we had on deck, I was so excited. If you follow me on Twitter, I love tweeting out. It all starts up front because it truly does, right, on the offensive line and the defensive line. And that's like where championships are won. So when we had our starting center and then one of our best defensive tackles, I was just super excited. I feel like a kid in a candy store right now. So I got similar questions for both of you. I think I'll start off with you, Tanner. You've had the opportunity to block for some amazing running backs at JMU. We talked about Percy going back to last year with Kalon and Tyson, Juwan Hamilton back in 19, Latrell Palmer. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to, you know, block for AO and Petaway and Wayne Knight and this new group of running backs here in the training camp.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Bush can talk to this as well. They're super athletic. They make really good reads, very shifty, make great cuts. Being able to have running backs that are very versatile, whether it's out of the backfield, catching passes, or like I said, running multiple, you know, inside zone, outside zone, power, counter, you know, what you name it. These guys are smart. They understand the system already, even though they're, you know, new faces to the program. Luckily, we had a spring ball with Io and George Petaway. And I'm glad that we got Wayne Knight back from the portal. That's great to have him back. He's a great guy. And so, you know, just having it's also such a deep running back room. You know, you bring Tyler Purdy in, who's from Holy Cross, who has experience in that system. So he's been able to lead those guys and bring them along in the, you know, just the whole system. And so being able to block for them every day is just, it's awesome. You know, they break several runs sometimes. And a lot of times it's just on them. You know, it's not even anything that we did sometimes, just because of, you know, how great of a player they are.
Yeah, it's awesome. I feel like when I look at the roster, we've got a lot of very good, like, situational players as well. Like, we've got someone that we can get out wide or get into the screen game or, like, go up the gut, right? I know we have one player, I think Joby Mallory, that's like 240 pounds, like, just going right up the middle. So I think we've got a lot of situational advantages. Speaking of advantages, you know, I noticed that we've got practically two offensive line coaches, right? Like Chris Smith coming from the Giants, Coach with Chesney for a while, and then you've got Coach, I think Zarkowski, I think his last name, who was the O-line coach at Holy Cross. Like, talk to us a little bit about that dynamic, having pretty much like two offensive line coaches with you guys every day.
Yeah, so that's been a super beneficial factor to our game in spring ball and in fall camp. When we go to Indy, Coach Smith will take a group, Coach Zara will take a group, and then we also have Stowe Manello, who's our like graduate assistant right now. He also will take another group. So we could have, you know, left tackles going, guards and centers going, and then right tackles going all at once, doing a different drill, you know, just working on their game. And being able to do that during practice and then implement it on the field during camp has been so impactful for everyone. And you can see it showing up on the film, you know, every day during meetings. And just having Coach Smith in the front of the room, directing the film, teaching us new plays, and then him having Coach Zara, you know, sitting in the back, taking the notes, you know, following up with anything that maybe Coach Smith missed. It's just there's nothing that any of us can really miss. So, like, you know, I feel like in terms of like young guys, even the older guys, this has been the most like like misses. We have not had nearly as many missed assignments as I've seen in the past coming into fall camp. And, that it's good to see that. It makes me very confident in what our future looks like. And then like even Coach Czar, we call him Coach Czar for short. He has, like today during the off day, he had a meeting on his own just for us to come in and ask questions so that Coach Smith could go do something else with the staff or, whatever it was. And then he was in there with all the freshmen. I went in there, asked a couple questions, and just kind of cleared some things up from film the day before.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm just like getting so excited for like August 31st to see you guys go out there and put all your hard work on the field. I'm excited for that. Immanuel, I want to go over to you on the defensive side of the ball. We talked a little bit about some of the great running backs that played for us, but at the end of the day, I feel like JMU's been D-line you over the past couple of seasons. Without getting too much around X's and O's, tell us a little bit about like what can we expect out of the D-line? We've got a lot of new additions, new players on the edge, some young players on the inside. Like, what can we expect from the defensive line?
I mean, start off, we got Lloyd Summerall. That is probably one of the most twitchiest guys I've ever seen. Like, he is just such a natural athlete that, like, he surprises me in practice. Like, some plays, he'll be like, you think he's going one way, he just goes back to another, makes the play. I'm like, I couldn't do it. But then we have Chris Fitzgerald, one of the transfers, and he just I don't even know how to explain it. Like, he's a powerhouse, but at the same time, he's very nifty and nimble, which you wouldn't expect out of such a big body. We got Michael McMullen. He's just another animal. Like, Mike's one of the guys that like just refuses to be blocked. Like, you'll never see Mike on a block for more than maybe 2 seconds. Then we got another young guy, Trey Adams, freshman. He's really surprising because I thought, when I was a freshman, I wasn't nowhere near as good as he was. Like, he's out here showing that he can really play with the older guys. And then just as a D line, we're really gelling together. And how do I say this? I don't know. It's just fun playing with these guys, and like these guys enjoy playing with each other. And so like we should expect big things from this D line, because if somebody's not making plays, they're opening up the gaps for somebody else to make plays.
That's awesome. No, I love hearing that, right? Because like there's that D-line excellence culture, right, over the last couple of years. I'd love to see like players step up and new additions or freshmen or whatnot, and they continue to develop. One last question for you, Immanuel. So we talk a lot about culture and like legacy at JMU, and you're being coached by Sam Daniels, one of the great JMU defensive linemen. Give you guys some context. When I was a freshman at JMU, he was a senior, and he was an absolute nemesis on the field. If you didn't see him make a play, you heard him make a play. That's for sure. Tell us a little bit about like what's it like playing for Sam? Like, do you feel that JMU passion and pride come out from him every day? Like, well, take us a little bit into what that room looks like.
Well, just talking about Coach Daniels as a coach, I've been through about 4 or 5 college defensive line coach. Daniels is number one. Like, he's just the way he coaches is like he's like that perfect balance between he's gonna make sure you get it right, and then he's gonna like make you want to get it right. He every day he always brings energy. He's very passionate about it. He loves being here. We sometimes we even watched what was it? A couple of days ago we watched some plays from him back when he was playing, back when he played App State, I think. And it was funny to see him up on the film. I'm just like, okay,
58, right? You saw him right in the middle.
It was funny because I was just like, is that because that was back when he had hair, and that's just like the running joke in the D-line room. So Coach Daniels is a great guy. He's just really fun to be around, really fun to learn from. And he teaches us a lot every day. He teaches us how to read formations, how to see adjustments, all of this. Like, it's just everything he does is just to make us better people and better players overall.
That's awesome.
Did you watch? Did you see the tape where they knocked Flacco out of the game when Arthur Motes hit him, and Sam took on 2 blocks for it, and then Sam got in his face and just started yelling at Flacco, and it was great.
Yes,
it was wonderful. I have a question for both of you. I'll start with Tanner. What's the biggest challenge that you're seeing now that you're 4 practices in? What's your biggest challenge you're seeing with the O-line group at this point?
Right now it's very kind of like nitty-gritty small details that will make such a huge difference, whether it's in the run game or the pass game. Having your eyes in the right place, getting the right footwork, like I said before, we're not having, crazy mental errors, like massive misassignments. But at the end of the day, it's the small details that you need to refine to really get the game, where you want it to be. And I feel like if we can fix those as an entire unit, then you'll really see the offensive line take off this year.
Because you're making I know that Dylan's got the helmet that's got the sound in it, but you're still making obviously the line calls. But you've got 2 brand new tackles that you're making line calls for that haven't played with you guys. Is that all gelling pretty well?
Yeah, so you got Pat McMurtry on the right side, and he is a Holy Cross transfer, so he knows the system, very well. You can ask him any question in film, and he's going to know it just because of his experience within this team. He's been with Coach Smith before and with Coach Kennedy in prior years. And then you've got Jesse Ramel, who's a transfer from St. Francis, and he's done a great job this offseason. He's worked really hard in the weight room, and he's put on the weight to perform at this level. And I feel like overall, this unit's going to come together by the end of camp.
And Manny, for your side of it, what do you see in terms of challenges for practices and for the D line?
For the D line, really our biggest challenge is just footwork, understanding the playbook, and just getting our pad level down. So it's just really small errors, and if we can really work through these, it'll just boost us even more than we already are.
Both of you look like your arms or legs. I mean, you've got these just massive arms and massive legs, and it's just a complete transformation from where I saw you in April. So congratulations on your nutrition and on your weight work and all that kind of good stuff. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jonathan, let him ask a couple questions.
Yeah, guys, I was just honestly, we know you guys got curfews and it's your day off tonight, so we're going to let you get back actually to your evening. But as we always say to any player who joins us, thank you for what you guys are doing this offseason. We know it's been some hot days in Harrisonburg, and as much as you love playing football, there's a lot that goes on as well off the field that we don't get to see, but it leads to great outcomes on Saturdays in the fall, and that's kind of the last thing we want to wrap with. Just on behalf of all of us, congratulations on what you've done so far, and we're all going to be rooting for you both at Bridgeforth and on the road this season, and we appreciate you taking some of your time on a Sunday to join us, but all the best as you go throughout the rest of camp.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome, guys. And with that, we are going to bring on the other guys from our team. Steve, pretty great conversation tonight, spanning the gamut, both Matt Transue, Matt Roan, giving us kind of behind the scenes of what's happening in the broader JMU athletics conversation, what happens behind the scenes with our football program logistically to get them to be successful, and then 2 players who are the leaders for this team as we move into the fall, and we know they're going to be major contributors to the success of this team as we go throughout the next few weeks and into the game 1 and beyond. Kind of last thoughts just from anybody. Steve, I'll start with you. Just pretty great conversation all around. I'm sure you heard a number of things that you're excited about leading into what will be another couple of busy weeks for this program.
Yeah, really pleased with kind of where we are as an athletics department. This was a good kickoff show to have the AD on and the chief, basically the chief operating officer for the football team, with Matt, and then having the offensive and defensive guys we had on to kind of give you a little bit of a understanding. We'll be having players on the rest of August for all of our shows and to kind of give you that inside look. So it's exciting to see where they are. It's exciting to see them in practice yesterday. So I'm very excited for this team. Can't wait to see them open up in Charlotte in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Taylor.
I just want to give a shout out to Hunter McLean, transfer offensive lineman from Virginia Tech. Also, the sole Botetourt resident on the football team this year that has allowed me to extend my contract into season 3 of Sound Off. So once again, go Botetourt.
There you go. Michael, your final thoughts.
Taylor, you got to let us know what they're feeding you guys down there, because I think he's like, 6'5", 332. Hunter McLean.
Yeah, I got the same weight, probably just not the same height. So that's the only problem I'm having right now.
There you go.
You just keep working on the squats, Taylor.
Yeah. Final thoughts. I mean, we talked a lot about tonight around like transitions and new players, whether it's the portal recruiting. I think we've got 65 new additions, right? Keep in mind, everyone in the Sun Belt's in the same boat. If you guys listen to like any of the media day interviews with other coaches, high 60s, some even the low 70s, there's a lot of roster turnover this offseason. So it's going to really take the head coach. It's going to build a culture, build like a unit, build a team that's going to want to play for something greater than themselves. It's going to be successful, in my opinion. And I think we have no doubt the right guy with Chesney. Just watching practice, watching the energy, watching who's on the sidelines, right? His father goes to all the practices. I think Steve, you shared the picture. They had 3 different generations of Chesneys on the field, running around and looking at the players and talking to the players. It's really awesome to see. So I'm super excited. August 31st couldn't get here fast enough, and I'm excited to be back and get the show on the road.
Yeah,
I mean,
awesome,
Bob's dad yesterday was leading the defensive cheer. So during the whole thing, he was over on the sidelines going, "Get loud!" He's like screaming and these guys were getting loud and following his lead. And he brought me an ice pop too because he told me he didn't want me to pass out on the sidelines. And I'm like, I'm not going to pass out. It's okay.
Well, one live note, we just got a text message from Carol Benassi, and this is there's been some questions about the hours for the painted tree at Dulles. It's going to be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. She describes it as a crafts fair that never ends. So 10 to 8 every day. That once again, Dulles Landings Drive. She is boots S4 and B9. That's where you can get your JMU gear. And as always, yourpurplenation.com. Guys, I wanted to do one programming note. We are now back for the duration, Sundays, 8 p.m. moving forward. We are going to have players on every week, giving you the inside look, not only into what's happening during training camp, but we prepared to have that also continue as we go through the season, getting the player perspective on what's happening each and every week with JMU football. So again, we would like to thank our sponsors for making that possible. The Montpelier Collective, Skyline Financial, Where's Woody, Talent Corps, and Your Purple Nation. And with that, to you, the fans, one final thank you. We're only here for season 3, and as well as our new Shoker Enterprises coming on board this year as well. But want to just thank the fans. We're only doing this season 3 because you have been with us from day one, have continued to allow us to grow and have supported this program. And we know that support will continue as we move into the new season. But just know, as we always say, we never take it for granted. We're going to continue to enhance the platform. We're doing some new things this year, both on site at games, both at home and away, to bring you closer to the program. And again, we're going to be creative and also listening to you to make sure that we can continue to tailor the show to your interests and needs. But gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. It's House of Dragons time for me. And with that, we'll talk to you next Sunday, 8 p.m. JMU Sound Off. Go Dukes as always, and we'll talk to you soon.